Black smoke chokes the turquoise skyline of Samarkand. It is March 1220, and the citadel has just surrendered. The Mongols do not rush in with swords raised. They enter with ledgers. They are not looking for soldiers anymore. They are sorting the women of Samarkand, pulling them from the smoldering rubble to stand in silent, terrifying lines. A silver comb slides from a loosened braid, falling into the bloody mud. A Mongol pony steps on it, snapping the metal teeth. The owner does not reach for it. That life is gone. This comb is the first symbol of an identity that is about to be systematically dismantled. Two questions hang in the ash-filled air. Why did Genghis Khan order a fate for these captives that required their survival rather than their execution? And what irreversible cost would be paid by a lineage that was not slaughtered but simply erased from history? Survival was the punishment, not the mercy. If you enjoy these dark histories, leave a like and subscribe and comment below where you're listening from. And now, back to the story. The screaming has stopped, replaced by the scratching of reed pens on parchment. Outside the Iron Gate, the women of Samarkand are no longer citizens of the Khwarezmian Empire. They are inventory. Mongol scribes, sitting cross-legged on felt mats, record them not by name, but by utility. Age, health, beauty, craft. The vast accumulation of human life is distilled into columns of black ink. They are driven into the open steppe, away from the familiar shadows of the city walls. The wind here is different, sharper, carrying the scent of horse sweat and fermented mare's milk. There is no chaotic looting now. That was for the shock troops. This is the administration of conquest. Women are assigned to units of 10, then hundreds, distributed like grain or arrows among the tumen. A hierarchy emerges in the mud. To be selected for the tent of a commander is presented as a privilege, a reprieve from the common soldier's rough hands. The cage is gilded, but the lock is iron. Yet, a silence spreads among the captives that the Mongols mistake for brokenness. It is a container for rage. A mother, separated from her sons, does not weep. She adjusts her veil, her fingers brushing the hem, where she has sewn a single gold dinar. It is not for ransom. Ransom is a ghost story here. It is for a future bribe, a weapon, or a burial. She keeps her eyes fixed on the horizon, refusing to look back at the black pillars of smoke that were once her home. The mercy arrives at sunset. Bowls of broth are distributed, warm and heavy with fat. The price of the meal is the acceptance of a new name. The guards bark foreign syllables, pointing, renaming the women based on their new masters. To eat is to agree, to starve is to die, but to eat is to begin the process of becoming someone else. Most take the bowl. The warmth in their bellies feels like betrayal. Full bellies make excellent chains. The ultimatum is delivered not with a sword, but with a bridal cup. Inside the stifling warmth of the jur, the condition is laid bare on the gray felt floor. Submit and become a mother of the horde, or remain a ghost and vanish into the slave markets of the distant east. It is not a choice of life or death, but of continuation. The Mongols do not want martyrs. They want heirs. The women are washed, their torn silk robes replaced with rough wool and leather curded with grease. The smell of Samarkand, perfumed oils, baked clay, dust, is scrubbed away with abrasive sand. A daughter of a merchant, once draped in pearls, is offered her new station, second wife to a centurion. She stands before him, the wind howling through the smoke hole of the tent. He offers a cup of fermented arag. It is a wedding rite. She does not knock the cup away. She simply does not raise her hands. They hang by her sides, heavy and still. She looks through him, at the wooden lattice of the wall. "Drink," he says, not with anger, but with the flat patience of a man taming a hawk. "I have no sons for you," she whispers. It is the only refusal she speaks. Silence is the loudest rebellion. The escalation is subtle. There is no whip, only the removal of warmth. She is moved to the edge of the fire, then to the door, then to the servants' quarters, where the drafts cut like knives. The food becomes scarce, scraps of gristle, dregs of milk. The other women, those who drank the cup, look away. They wear the heavy silver headdresses of their new husbands, the bogta, rising like columns from their heads. They have chosen survival. The merchant's daughter is stripped of her remaining status, her identity eroding with her weight, but the cold hardens her. What was meant to break her spirit calcifies into a diamond-hard resolve. She turns her deprivation into a secret ritual. Every hunger pang is a prayer to the city that burned. She recites the names of the dead under her breath while scrubbing iron pots, a liturgy of ash. The discipline of the harem becomes the discipline of the prisoner. She creates a fortress inside her own skull where the Mongols cannot ride. The true purpose of the Khan reveals itself in the swelling bellies of the women who submitted. The why is biological. The Mongols are not just stealing wealth, they are stealing the future. They are harvesting the health and beauty of the civilized world to strengthen the steppe. The price of survival is to birth the very army that destroyed your home. The women of Samarkand are the soil in which the next generation of conquerors will grow. The cruelty is absolute because it requires the victim to nurture the aggressor. A young Mongol warrior enters the tent, carrying a bundle of furs. He stops. He sees the merchant's daughter shivering in the shadows, her eyes dark voids in a skeletal face. He takes a step toward her, hand outstretched with the furs. He hesitates. His hand stops in midair, fingers twitching. He sees not a woman, but a statue of judgment. He drops the furs on the ground and backs away, unable to cross the invisible line she has drawn. To remain yourself is to slowly disappear. Decades later, the wind blowing through the capital of Karakoram carries a strange scent. Not just burning dung and boiled mutton, but incense and rosewater. The women of Samarkand are grandmothers now. Their faces are maps of the steppe, weathered by 40 winters, but their hands remain the hands of the city. In the flickering light of the imperial court, they do not hold swords. They hold needles, looms, and the ears of the great Khan's grandsons. The rebirth is silent and subversive. An elderly woman sits by a loom, teaching a young girl, her granddaughter, who has the broad face of a Mongol but the dark almond eyes of a Persian. The woman guides the girl's fingers through the rough wool. They are weaving a rug. To the untrained eye, the pattern is chaotic, a reflection of the wild grasslands. But look closer. The geometric borders are not random. They are the floor plans of the destroyed mosques of Samarkand. The blue dye is not from the steppe. It is indigo processed in the old way, a secret chemistry preserved in whispers. They hid their history in the floor. Archaeological fragments found in the Orkhon Valley suggest a startling anomaly. Domestic items, textiles, and even culinary tools from this period show a heavy, undeniable Khwarezmian influence deep within the Mongol heartland. The evidence contradicts the assumption of total erasure. The women did not simply vanish into the Mongol gene pool. They acted as a cultural virus. By raising the heirs of the empire, they installed the software of the conquered into the hardware of the conqueror. The Act 1 assumption, that their lineage was broken, was wrong. The lineage was weaponized. When the young princes cry in the night, the lullabies sung to them are not about wolves and the sky god Tengri. They are the sorrowful elegies of the poets of Samarkand. The children learned to count using the mathematics of the Persian merchants. The conquerors wanted sons to rule the world, but the women raised sons who would eventually crave the very civilization their fathers burned. The distinct Mongol identity begins to dilute, not by war, but by the slow, patient influence of the harem. The woman at the loom ties off the final knot. She does not weep for the city she lost. She looks at her half-Mongol grandson playing on the rug, tracing the lines of the mosque he will never see, yet will instinctively understand. She has not saved Samarkand, but she has ensured that the Mongol Empire will never truly be Mongol again. The prisoner eventually becomes the architect. The dust of the steppes settles over the centuries, burying the iron ledgers of the scribes. By the time the traveler Marco Polo passes near these lands, the women of 1220 are not even memories. They are absences in the genealogy. The Mongol chronicles list the fathers, the generals, and the khans. The mothers are recorded only as wives or concubines, blank entries in a history written by the victors. There are no statues of the merchant's daughter in the rebuilt squares of Samarkand. There are no songs sung openly about the long march to Karakoram. The silence is absolute. The archives of the Khwarezmian Empire were burned, and the oral history of the women died in the throats of those who refused to speak of their shame. The only witnesses are the winds that scour the Orkhon Valley, eroding the stone markers of graves that bear no names. Yet, the echo remains in the faces of the living, a flash of hazel eyes in a nomad encampment, a sudden, unexplained proficiency for algebra in a warrior caste, a carpet design woven in a yurt that mimics the tile work of a Persian bathhouse. These are the whispers of a stolen generation. They are ghosts who walk in the bodies of their captors' descendants. We return to the mud outside the citadel. The silver comb that fell in Act 1 is still there, buried under 3 feet of hard-packed earth. It has turned black with oxidation. The teeth are scattered. It belongs to no one. The woman who dropped it did not die there, but she did not leave either. She was dissolved, atom by atom, into the empire that destroyed her. The irreversible cost was not death. It was the total consumption of her identity to feed the future of her enemy. Samarkand was rebuilt, but the soul of the city was carried away in chains, never to return. The price of survival was to become the mortar in the Great Khan's wall. Subscribe, hit the bell, and like. The blood survives only by forgetting its name.